They're
I
coming
didn't
for
know he
you.
was
You
watching
have to
me.
leave now.
Episode
Get out of the
2.
building.
The voice that answered was a
God, what do I
woman's.
do?
Don't hang up. The words came fast,
God.
urgent, before Ada could even process that someone had picked
No,
up.
stay right there. I'm coming.
Please, I know you don't know me. I know this feels wrong, but you need to listen. Ada's thumb hovered over the red button. Her heart was doing something strange, racing and stopping at the same time, caught between the instinct to end the call and the darker instinct to hear what came next. The envelope sat on the counter in front of her. The handwriting stared back. You need to know who you're involved with. Who are you? Ada's voice came out steadier than she felt. My name is Min Jae. A pause, breathing on the other end, controlled but not calm. I was where you are now, 2 years ago, and I'm calling because I wish someone had called me. Ada sat down on the edge of her futon. The apartment felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in. I don't understand. Kim Jaehyun. Min Jae said the name the way you say the name of something that still hurts. You met him, he looked at you, he spoke to you, and now you can't stop thinking about him. The accuracy of it hit like cold water. Ada said nothing. That's how it starts, Min Jae continued. He makes you feel like you exist, like after months or years of being invisible, someone finally sees you, and it's intoxicating, isn't it? Why are you telling me this? Ada's hand tightened on the phone. Because what comes next is worse. Min Jae's voice dropped lower. He's not what you think he is. The man you met, the one who was careful with you, the one who didn't touch you, the one who looked at you like you mattered, that's real. But it's not all of it. There are things he does, things he's involved in, and once you're in his world, you don't get to leave. Ada stood up, paced to the window. The concrete wall outside reflected nothing back. Then why did you leave? The silence on the other end stretched so long Ada thought the call had dropped. Then, I didn't leave, I ran, and I'm still running. Something in Ada's chest went cold. There's a café, Min Jae said. Hongdae, it's called the Blue Door, tomorrow, 2 in the afternoon. If you want to know the truth, if you want to understand what you're stepping into before it's too late, meet me there. How do I know this isn't? A trap, Min Jae's laugh was bitter. If Jaehyun wanted to hurt you, you'd already be hurt. He doesn't need elaborate plans. He just decides something and it happens. That's who he is. The line went dead. Ada stood in the dark apartment, phone still pressed to her ear, and felt the world tilt sideways. She had wanted answers. She had wanted to understand. And now someone was offering exactly that, and all she felt was the sick pull of dread in her stomach. She didn't sleep that night. Not really. She lay on her futon and stared at the ceiling and turned Min Jae's words over and over. Once you're in his world, you don't get to leave. I'm still running. By the time morning came, Ada had made a decision. She would go. She would meet Min Jae. She would hear what this woman had to say, and then she would decide what to do with the information. Because the thing was, and this was the part that scared her most, even after the phone call, even after the warning, she still felt the pull. She still wanted to see him again. And that, more than anything, told her she was already in trouble. The next day dragged. Ada went to work, another office building, another set of floors to scrub, and moved through the hours in a fog. Her supervisor asked if she was feeling all right. She said yes. It was easier than explaining. At 1:30, she left work early, took the train to Hongdae, found the café. The Blue Door was exactly what its name promised, a small storefront with a painted blue door, tucked between a clothing shop and a cosmetics store. Inside, it was warm and crowded, filled with university students and the smell of coffee and bread. Ada scanned the room. A woman in the back corner raised her hand, just slightly, enough. Ada wove between tables and sat down across from her. Min Jae was younger than Ada had imagined from the phone call. Mid-20s maybe. Pale skin, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She was pretty in a way that looked like it used to be effortless but now required work. Her hands were wrapped around a coffee cup, but she wasn't drinking. You came, Min Jae said. You knew I would. I hoped. Min Jae looked at her, really looked at her, the kind of look that was searching for something specific. You look like I did, 2 years ago, same expression, Same confused terror. Ada sat back. I'm not terrified. Yes, you are, you just don't know it yet. Minjai finally took a sip of coffee, set it down. Let me guess, he was polite, careful, he didn't push, he asked you questions, he listened when you answered, he made you feel like the only person in the room. Every word landed. Ada kept her face neutral. That's the version of him that's true, Minjai continued. The problem is, it's not the only version. There's another side. The side that runs half the underground operations in Seoul. The side that people whisper about but never name. The side that doesn't forgive and doesn't forget. You're saying he's dangerous. I'm saying he's more than dangerous. Dangerous is a man who loses his temper. Jaehyun doesn't lose anything. He's calculated, controlled. And when he decides he wants something, there is no force on earth that will stop him from getting it. Minjai leaned forward. Do you understand what I'm telling you? He's chosen you. And that means your life just stopped being yours. Ada felt something hot flare in her chest. My life has always been mine. Not anymore. Minjai's voice was flat. You think you have a choice. You think you can walk away, go back to your apartment, forget you ever met him. But you can't, because he won't let you. He'll show up, again and again. And every time you'll tell yourself it's the last time, until one day you look around and realize you've been pulled so far into his world that you can't see the edges anymore. That's not. How do you think he knew where you lived? Minjai cut her off. How do you think he knew where you'd be at 6 in the morning at a convenience store? He has people, Ada. People who watch, people who report. And from the moment he looked at you in that lounge, you became a person of interest, which means you became watched. The cold feeling from last night came back, stronger this time. What happened to you? Ada asked quietly. Minjai's expression shifted. Something painful moved across her face and then was locked away. I met him the same way you did, different place, same feeling. He was kind to me, gentle, and I fell for it because I wanted to believe that someone like him could actually see someone like me. I was a waitress, nothing special. And suddenly this powerful, beautiful man was looking at me like I mattered. She stopped, took a breath. It was good for a while. He took care of me, made sure I had everything I needed, introduced me to his world. And then I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. I won't tell you what. It doesn't matter. What matters is I realized that the man I thought I knew was only part of the picture. And the other part, the real part, was someone I couldn't reconcile. So you left. I tried to leave. Minjai's hands tightened on the cup. He didn't stop me. That was the worst part. He just let me go. And for a week I thought I was free. And then people started showing up. Not to threaten me, just to be there. At the café where I got breakfast. On the train I took to work. Outside my apartment at night. Never saying anything, just watching, just reminding me. Ada's stomach turned. I left Seoul, Minjai said. Went to Busan, got a new job, new apartment, changed my number. And for 6 months, nothing happened. I started to think maybe it was over. And then one day I got a package, no return address. Inside was a photograph of me, taken 3 days earlier, on a street in Busan. And underneath it, a note, 3 words. She looked at Ada. Come home, Minjai. Did you? No, I ran again, and I'm still running. And I will keep running until... She didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. They sat in silence. Around them, the café hummed with ordinary life. Students laughing, friends talking, the espresso machine hissing. All of it felt very far away. Ada watched a young couple at the next table. They were holding hands across the surface, talking in low voices, completely absorbed in each other. Ordinary. Safe. The kind of relationship that existed in daylight with no shadows. Do you regret it? Ada asked suddenly. Meeting him, everything that came after. Minjai's face did something complicated. Every single day. And not at all. She looked down at her coffee. That's the thing no one tells you about people like Jaehyun. They ruin you for ordinary. After him, every other man feels like a pale copy. Every other relationship feels shallow. Because he made me feel... She stopped, started again. He made me feel like the center of the universe. And once you felt that, everything else is just noise. But you still left. Because the cost was too high. Minjai's voice dropped to almost a whisper. I saw what he did to someone who crossed him. It was, She closed her eyes. I can't unsee it. I dream about it sometimes. Wake up and have to remind myself I'm safe, except I'm not safe. Not really. I'll never be safe again. Ada felt something cold settle in her stomach. What did he do? I can't tell you, I won't, because if I tell you, you'll carry it too. And maybe, Minjai looked at her with something that might have been hope. Maybe your story will be different. Maybe you're strong enough to handle both sides of him, the gentle and the cruel. Maybe you can love the man without being destroyed by the monster. I don't love him. Not yet, but you will. Minjai said it with absolute certainty. That's how it works. He pulls you in slowly, every conversation, every look, every small gesture that makes you feel seen. And one day you wake up and realize you're in so deep that leaving would mean leaving part of yourself behind. Ada's throat felt tight. You're trying to scare me. I'm trying to save you. Minjai leaned forward. Because I see myself in you, same desperation to be invisible, same hunger to matter, same terrible hope that maybe, just maybe, this powerful man could be the one to make you feel whole. But Ada, her voice cracked slightly, you're already whole, you don't need him, you just think you do. Then, why didn't you believe that about yourself? The question hung there. Minjai looked at Ada with eyes that had seen too much and understood too late. Because I didn't have someone to warn me, she said finally. I didn't have someone sitting across from me telling me the truth before I was too far gone. That's why I'm here. That's why I called, so you could have what I didn't. Why are you telling me this? Ada asked. Because you still have a chance. Minjai reached across the table, didn't touch Ada's hand but came close. You're at the beginning. He's interested, but you're not in yet. You can still walk away, change cities, change countries if you have to, but do it now, before it's too late. Ada looked at the woman across from her, saw the fear, saw the exhaustion, saw what 2 years of running looked like. And then she thought about Jaehyun, about the way he had looked at her, about the quiet authority in his voice when he said good, about the feeling that had settled in her chest since the night they met, the feeling that something had shifted, something fundamental, and there was no shifting it back. I can't leave, Ada said. Minjai's face fell. Yes, you can, you just have to. No, Ada's voice was firmer now. I send money home every month. My mother depends on it. My family depends on it. I can't just disappear. I can't just run. Then you're going to end up like me. Minjai stood up. Or worse. She pulled out her phone, typed something quickly. Ada's phone buzzed, a message, a number. That's me, Minjai said. If you need to talk, if you need help, if you need to run and you don't know where to go, call me, anytime. Minjai. I hope I'm wrong about him. She picked up her bag. I hope you're different. I hope whatever he sees in you is enough to make him better. But I've seen too much to believe in hope anymore. She left. Ada sat alone at the table. Her coffee had gone cold. Her phone sat in front of her, Minjai's number glowing on the screen. And somewhere in her mind, a question formed that she didn't want to ask but couldn't avoid. What if Minjai was right? She left the cafe an hour later, walked through Hongdae in a daze. The streets were crowded, vendors selling street food, students handing out flyers, the noise and color of Seoul on a weekday afternoon. And all Ada could think about was the look in Minjai's eyes when she said, I'm still running. Ada found herself at a small park, sat on a bench, watched people pass, mothers with children, businessmen on phones, teenagers taking selfies, all of them living ordinary lives with ordinary problems. None of them tangled up with men who ran empires in shadows. Her phone felt heavy in her pocket. She pulled it out, looked at Minjai's number, then scrolled through her contacts until she found Jisoo. Called her. Jisoo answered on the first ring. Ada, are you okay? I need to talk to you. Where are you? Ada told her. Jisoo said she'd be there in 20 minutes. She arrived in 15. Sat down on the bench beside Ada, slightly out of breath, concern written across her face. What happened? Jisoo asked. Ada told her everything. The envelope, the phone call with Minjai, the cafe meeting. Everything Minjai had said about Jaehyun and what he was and what happened to people who got close to him. Jisoo listened without interrupting. When Ada finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Do you believe her?" Jisoo asked finally. "I don't know. Part of me wants to say she's lying or exaggerating or bitter because things didn't work out. But," Ada looked at her friend. She was terrified, Jisoo, really terrified, the kind you can't fake. "So what are you going to do?" "I don't know." Ada's voice came out smaller than she intended. "I should run. I should pack my things and leave Seoul and never look back. That's the smart thing. That's the safe thing." "But you're not going to do that." "No." "Because of him." "Because of," Ada stopped, tried to find the right words. "Because for the first time in over a year I feel like I'm alive, like I exist, like I matter to someone, and I know that's pathetic. I know I should be stronger than that. But I'm so tired, Jisoo. I'm so tired of being invisible, and he sees me." Jisoo took her hand, squeezed it. "You're not pathetic, you're human, and humans need to be seen. Even if the person seeing me is dangerous." "Especially then, maybe," Jisoo sighed. "I can't tell you what to do, Ada. I want to. I want to tell you to run and never look back. But I also know," she paused, "I know what it's like to be lonely in a city that doesn't want you. And if he makes you feel less alone, then maybe that's worth something." Min Jae said he ruined her for Ordinary. Maybe Ordinary is overrated. They sat together in the park as the afternoon turned to evening, talked about everything and nothing, about home and soul and the lives they'd left behind, about the choices women make when all the options are hard ones. When Ada's phone buzzed with Yehyun's text, Jisoo saw her face change. "That's him," Jisoo said. It wasn't a question. "Yes." "Are you going to go?" Ada looked at the text. "We need to talk. Tonight, same place." "Yes," she said. Jisoo nodded, didn't try to stop her, just hugged her hard and said, "Call me after. No matter what time, I need to know you're okay." "I will." "And Ada, if it gets bad, if anything feels wrong, you leave. You don't stay to be polite. You don't worry about his feelings. You just leave." "Okay." But even as she said it, Ada knew it was a lie. Because if it got bad, if things felt wrong, she wouldn't leave. She would stay. She would try to understand. She would try to find the man beneath the monster that Min Jae had described. Because that's what people did when they were already falling. They made excuses. They bent the truth. They believed in the possibility of redemption even when all the evidence pointed the other way. And Ada was already falling. Her phone buzzed. A text, unknown number. "We need to talk. Tonight, same place." She knew who it was without asking. Yehyun. Her first instinct was to say no, to ignore it, to go home and lock the door and pretend none of this was happening. But even as the thought formed, she knew it was pointless. Min Jae was right about one thing: he didn't stop. He didn't go away. Once he decided he wanted something, he got it. She texted back one word: "When?" The reply came in seconds. 8. Ada looked at the time. It was 3 in the afternoon. She had 5 hours to decide what to do. 5 hours to prepare herself for whatever conversation was about to happen. 5 hours to figure out if she was brave enough to ask him the questions that mattered. She spent those hours walking, not going anywhere in particular, just moving through the city, letting Seoul carry her from neighborhood to neighborhood the way it had carried her for the past 14 months. She walked through Gangnam, past the office building she cleaned. She walked through Itaewon, past the street where the lounge was hidden. She walked until her feet hurt and the sun began to set and the city lights started to come on. And somewhere during all that walking, she made a decision. She would go, she would meet him, and she would ask him directly who he really was. Because if Min Jae was right, if he really was dangerous, if he really was involved in things that couldn't be undone, then Ada deserved to know. She deserved to make a choice with her eyes open, not with the blinders of attraction and loneliness and the desperate human need to be seen. At 7:30, she took the train to Gangnam, got off at the same stop, walked to the same building. The same man in the black suit was waiting in the lobby. He looked at her without expression and led her to the elevator. This time the ride up felt different. Not nervous, not excited, something colder, something closer to resolve. The elevator opened. The golden hallway, the same door. The man knocked once and opened it. Jaehyun was standing by the window. Same dark shirt, same controlled posture. But when he turned and saw her, something in his expression shifted. Not surprise, something closer to relief. "You came," he said. "You knew I would." "I hoped." He moved toward her, stopped a few feet away. "You're angry." It wasn't a question. Ada wondered how he knew, then realized, of course he knew. He read people the way other people read books. "I met someone today," Ada said. "A woman named Min Jae." The name landed between them like a stone in still water. Yihyun's expression didn't change, but something happened behind his eyes. Something quick and dangerous and then gone. "I see," he said quietly. "Do you?" Ada took a step forward. "Because she told me things about you, about what you do, about what happens to the people who get close to you. She told me she's still running, 2 years later, still afraid, still looking over her shoulder." "And you believe her?" "I don't know what to believe." Ada's voice rose slightly. "You show up in my life, you say these things, you make me feel like—" She stopped, took a breath, started again. "I need to understand. I need to know if she's telling the truth, if you're dangerous, if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life by being here." Yihyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned and walked to the desk, poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a decanter, held one out to her. Ada didn't move. He set it on the desk. "Sit down, please." "I don't want to sit down. I want answers." "Then you'll get them, but sit down first." His voice was gentle but firm. "Because what I'm about to tell you requires you to be still, and you're shaking." Ada looked down at her hands. He was right. They were trembling. She sat, took the glass when he offered it again. The whiskey was warm in her palm, but she didn't drink. Yihyun sat across from her, not behind the desk, beside it, close enough that their knees almost touched, close enough that she could see the weariness in his eyes. "Min Jae told you the truth," he said. "Or part of it. I do run things. I'm involved in operations that most people would call criminal. I move money. I move people. I make things happen that shouldn't happen and stop things from happening that should. I exist in the gray spaces between legal and illegal, between moral and expedient. And yes, the people who get close to me often find their lives complicated in ways they didn't choose." Ada's hand tightened on the glass. "But here's what she didn't tell you," Yihyun continued. "Or couldn't tell you because she doesn't know. Everything I did to protect her. She said you sent people to watch her, to follow her, to remind her she couldn't escape." "I sent people to protect her." His voice was very calm, very certain. "Min Jae saw something she shouldn't have seen. She walked into a room at the wrong time and witnessed something that put a target on her back. Not from me, from other people. Dangerous people who would have used her to get to me. So yes, I had people watch her, not to threaten her, to make sure she stayed safe, to make sure the people looking for her never found her. She didn't feel safe." "I know." Something that might have been regret crossed his face. "That's the problem, isn't it? Good intentions don't erase fear. I can't undo the fact that she was afraid. I can't make her believe that every person I sent to watch her was there to protect, not to harm. But I can tell you this, the photograph she received in Busan. That wasn't a threat. That was me telling her I knew where she was, not because I wanted to drag her back. Because I wanted her to know that if anyone else found her, I would know first, and I would handle it before it reached her." Ada stared at him. "You're saying you were protecting her." "I'm saying I tried to. Whether she understood that or not is another matter. Fear has a way of rewriting facts. She saw people watching and assumed the worst. She saw my reach and felt trapped. And He stopped, set his glass down. "I handled it poorly. I should have explained, should have talked to her instead of just acting. But I'm not good at explaining myself. I'm used to people understanding my intentions without words." "And the note, come home." "Because Busan wasn't safe. She thinks she ran far enough. She didn't. The people who were interested in her, they have reach, more than she knows. And if she had stayed in that apartment in that city working that job, they would have found her eventually. It was only a matter of time." He leaned forward slightly. "She came back to Seoul. Did she tell you that?" Ada blinked. No. She's been back for 3 months, living in Mapo under a different name, working at a bookstore, and she's safe, because I made sure of it, because despite what she believes, I don't punish people for leaving. I just don't let them leave unprotected. His eyes held hers. She hates me, I accept that, but she's alive, and that matters more. The room was very quiet. Outside, Seoul glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Inside, 2 people sat across from each other with the weight of truth and lies and half-understood motivations between them. "Why didn't you tell her this?" Ada asked quietly. "I tried, she wouldn't listen, and I don't blame her for that. What she saw." He stopped, looked away. "It was violent, brutal, and I won't lie to you and say I regretted it. The man she saw me hurt had done something unforgivable. He had harmed someone under my protection. And when you harm someone I've claimed, you pay for it. That's the rule. That's always been the rule." "What did you do to him?" "I made sure he understood that certain actions have irreversible consequences." Jaehyun's voice was flat, final. "And then I made sure he could never do it again." Ada felt something cold move through her. "You killed him." "No, death would have been kinder. What I did," he looked at her, "I made him wish I had." The words hung between them. Ada should have been horrified, should have stood up and walked out and never looked back, but instead she found herself asking, did he deserve it? Jaehyun's expression shifted. Something surprised and raw crossed his face. "Yes." "Then I'm not going to judge you for it." "You should." "Maybe, but I won't." Ada took a breath, let it out slowly. "I've spent my whole life trying to be good, trying to be small and polite and acceptable, trying not to cause trouble or make waves or upset anyone. And you know what that got me? Invisible, forgettable. A woman people walked past without seeing. So maybe," she looked at him, "maybe I'm tired of being good. Maybe I want to be seen by someone who isn't afraid to be bad." Jaehyun stood up, walked around the desk, stopped in front of her chair, looked down at her with an expression that was more open than anything she'd seen from him before. "You're not like her," he said quietly. "Like who?" Min-jae. "Yes, she wanted safety, security, the promise that nothing would ever hurt her. And when she realized I couldn't promise that, when she saw that my world has sharp edges and darkness and violence, she ran. But you," he reached out, touched her face, just his fingertips against her cheek. "You're asking different questions. You're not asking if I'm dangerous. You're asking if the danger is worth it." "Is it?" "I don't know," he said honestly. "I can promise you truth. I can promise you that I will protect you with everything I have. I can promise you that you will never be invisible again, never be forgotten, never wonder if you matter. But I can't promise you peace. I can't promise you simplicity. My world is complicated and dark and sometimes violent, and if you choose to be part of it, you choose all of it, the good and the bad." Ada stood. They were very close now. Close enough that she could feel the heat of him. Close enough to see the faint scar along his jawline that she'd noticed before. Close enough that when she spoke, her breath touched his skin. "I'm not looking for peace," she said. "What are you looking for?" "Something real." His hand moved from her cheek to the back of her neck. Gentle, steady. "Then you've found it." "Have I?" "Yes," he said it with absolute certainty. "Because I'm done pretending I don't want this. I'm done keeping distance. I'm done being careful. I want you, Ada. And I don't just mean physically, I mean..." He stopped, started again. "I want you in my life, in my world, beside me when I make decisions and across from me at dinner and in my bed at night and in my thoughts during the day. I want all of it, and I'm willing to give you time to decide if you want it too. But I'm not willing to let you walk away thinking I'm something I'm not." "And what are you?" "Dangerous, powerful, flawed, violent when I need to be, gentle when it matters, obsessive about the things and people I claim, unforgiving to my enemies, devoted to my people, and completely, irrevocably yours if you'll have me." The honesty of it hit Ada like a physical thing. No games, no pretense, just raw truth offered without condition or apology. "I'm afraid," Ada said. "You should be." Jaehyun's expression softened. "But fear and choice aren't opposites. You can be afraid and still choose to stay. You can be terrified and still walk toward something instead of away from it. The question isn't whether you're afraid. The question is whether you're brave enough to choose anyway. And if I get hurt, then I'll make sure whoever hurt you regrets it for the rest of their life. And if I'm the one who hurts you," his voice dropped, "then you walk away and I let you go, because I would rather lose you than become someone you're afraid of." The certainty in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it did something else, something warmer, something that felt dangerously close to safety. Ada took a breath, let the moment settle, let herself feel the weight of what he was offering and what it would cost. "I need time," she said finally. "Take all the time you need." "But I'm not leaving, not yet, not," she looked at him, "not unless you want me to." "I'll never want that," he said it simply, factually. "You could walk away tomorrow and I would still want you. You could hate me and I would still want you. You could spend the next 10 years on the other side of the world and I would still want you. That's what this is. That's what you need to understand. This isn't going away, not for me." "Why?" The question came out as a whisper. "Why me?" "I should go," she said. "I'll have someone drive you. I can take the train." "I know you can," Jaehyun smiled, "but I'm asking you to let me send a car just this once." Ada nodded, small concession, first of many, probably. He walked her to the door, opened it. The handler was waiting in the hallway as though he had been summoned by thought alone. "One more thing," Jaehyun said. "Tomorrow night, there's a dinner, business associates, very boring, but I'd like you to be there." "Why?" "Because I want them to meet you, because it's time they knew you existed, because," he stopped, started again, "because I don't want to sit through another evening of business talk without someone real in the room." Ada looked at him. "If I go, I'm agreeing to something, aren't I?" "Yes." "What am I agreeing to?" "That you're mine." He said it so simply, so matter-of-factly. "And that I'm yours, and that whatever happens next, we face it together." The weight of that statement should have crushed her. Instead, it felt like the first honest thing anyone had said to her in months. "What time?" she asked. His smile was small and private and entirely for her. 7. I'll send a car." "I don't have anything to wear to a business dinner." "Yes, you do. It'll be delivered to your apartment tomorrow afternoon." "You can't just." "I can, and I will. Because you'll argue with me about it, and I'll win, and we'll both waste time we don't need to waste. So I'm saving us the trouble." Despite everything, despite the fear and the warnings and the impossibility of what she was walking into, Ada laughed. A real laugh, short and surprised and entirely genuine. "Okay," she said. "Okay." She left. The handler led her to the elevator. The ride down was silent. A car was waiting outside, black, sleek, the kind that was so expensive it didn't need to announce itself. The driver opened the door. Ada got in. As the car pulled away from the building, she looked back, saw the tower rising into the Seoul night, saw the lit windows 40 stories up. And somewhere in her chest, in the space where fear and excitement and inevitability met, she felt something settle. She had made her choice. Now she would see where it led. The dress arrived at 2 in the afternoon the next day. Ada had just gotten home from a morning shift when someone knocked on her door. A woman stood in the hallway holding a garment bag and a box. "For you," the woman said in English, "from Kim SSI." Ada took them, closed the door, laid them on her futon. The dress was beautiful. Simple but elegant, deep navy blue, fitted through the bodice, flowing from the waist. The kind of dress that was expensive without being showy. The kind that would fit in at a business dinner without drawing too much attention. In the box were shoes, heels, not too high, black, and underneath the shoes a small velvet pouch. Ada opened it. Inside was a necklace, delicate gold chain, a single pendant, a small dark stone set in gold. She held it up to the light. It was beautiful, understated. The kind of thing you could wear every day or save for special occasions, and it would work either way. There was a note tucked in the bottom of the box. "You'll argue that this is too much. You'll want to give it back. Don't. It's not a gift, it's a promise. Wear it tonight and know that wherever you are in that room, I see you. Jay." Ada read it twice. then 3 times. Then she put the necklace on. It settled against her collarbone, light, barely there but present. She looked at herself in the mirror, saw a woman in a work uniform with a gold necklace around her neck, saw someone who had crossed a line and couldn't uncross it, saw someone who wasn't invisible anymore. At 6:30, she put on the dress, the shoes, did her makeup, simple, nothing dramatic, pulled her hair back in a neat bun, stood in front of the mirror and tried to recognize herself. The woman looking back was someone new, or maybe someone old, someone Ada had buried under months of careful invisibility, someone who existed fully, without apology, without trying to take up less space. The car arrived at 6:45. This time the ride was longer. They left Gangnam, headed north, stopped in front of a building Ada didn't recognize, older than Yihyun's tower, but no less elegant. Traditional architecture mixed with modern glass. A restaurant, maybe, or a private club. The driver opened her door. Ada stepped out. Yihyun was waiting at the entrance. He was wearing a suit, dark gray, perfectly tailored. When he saw her, something in his expression shifted, softened. "You wore it," he said, looking at the necklace. "You knew I would." "I hoped," he offered his arm. "Ready." "No." "Good. The best things happen when we're not ready." He led her inside. The dinner was exactly what he had promised. Business associates, boring talk, the kind of conversation that was more about power than content. Ada sat beside Yihyun at a long table. 8 other people. All Korean, all older, all watching her with expressions that ranged from curiosity to something harder. Yihyun introduced her simply. "This is Ada." No explanation, no justification, just her name and his hand on the back of her chair. The statement was clear. She was his. Anyone who had a problem with that could take it up with him directly. The man to Ada's right, middle-aged, expensive suit, calculating eyes leaned toward her. "You speak Korean?" he asked in English. "A little," Ada replied. "I'm learning." "Difficult language," the man said. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Very difficult for foreigners, many give up." "I don't give up easily." "No," Yihyun said quietly from beside her. "She doesn't." The tone of his voice carried a warning. The man heard it, nodded, turned his attention back to his plate. The dinner proceeded. Courses came and went, delicate plates of food that Ada barely tasted. Conversations swirled around her in Korean. She caught words here and there, business terms, numbers, names she didn't recognize. Through it all, Yihyun's presence beside her remained constant, not hovering, not protective in an obvious way, just there, solid. A reminder that she was not alone in this room full of strangers. About halfway through the meal, a woman across the table addressed Yihyun in Korean. Ada didn't understand all of it, but she caught enough. The woman was asking about business, about expansion into another market, about risk. Yihyun answered calmly, methodically, explained something about timing and resources and patience. The woman nodded, seemed satisfied. Then she turned her attention to Ada, spoke in careful English. "You work in Seoul?" the woman asked. "Yes." "What do you do?" The question hung there. Ada felt the weight of it, the judgment beneath it. This was a test, an assessment. These people wanted to know if she was worthy of sitting at this table, if she belonged in Yihyun's world. "I clean office buildings," Ada said clearly. "In Gangnam mostly, sometimes other districts." The silence that followed was heavy. Ada felt every eye on her, saw the calculations happening behind polite faces, saw the dismissal, the surprise that someone like Yihyun would be interested in someone like her. "Honest work," the woman said finally. Her tone was carefully neutral. "The most honest," Ada replied. "I see what buildings look like when no one's performing, when the suits are off and the mess is real. You learn a lot about people that way." Something shifted in the woman's expression. A flicker of respect, maybe, or just acknowledgement that Ada wasn't going to apologize for who she was. "I imagine you do," the woman said. The conversation moved on. Ada breathed. But then the silver-haired man, The one who'd been quiet most of the meal leaned back in his chair and said something in Korean. His tone was casual, almost friendly, but Ada caught the edge underneath, caught the way Jaehyun's hand tightened on his glass. The room went very still. Jaehyun responded. His voice was quiet, measured, but the temperature dropped 10 degrees. The silver-haired man's face went pale. He stammered something, an apology maybe, or an excuse. Jaehyun said one more sentence, final, absolute. The man looked down at his plate and didn't speak again for the rest of the meal. Ada didn't need a translation to understand what had just happened. The man had crossed a line, and Jaehyun had made it very clear what crossing that line would cost. The dinner ended. People made polite excuses and left quickly. Within 15 minutes, the private dining room was empty except for Ada and Jaehyun. He stood by the window, looking out at Seoul. Ada came to stand beside him. "What did he say?" she asked quietly. "It doesn't matter." "Tell me anyway." Jaehyun looked at her. "He implied you were temporary, that I would grow bored, that you weren't." He stopped, chose his words carefully. "That you didn't belong in our world, that someone of your background couldn't possibly understand the complexities of what we do." Ada felt something hot flash through her. Anger, humiliation. Not because the words were new, she'd heard variations of them her whole life, but because they'd been said in front of Jaehyun, as if his choice needed to be questioned, as if she needed to be defended. "And what did you say?" "I told him if he ever spoke about you again, in any context, I would make sure his business partners knew about the accounts he's been hiding in Singapore, and that after I ruined him financially, I would ruin him socially, and that by the time I was done, his own children wouldn't return his calls." Jaehyun's voice was matter-of-fact. "I also told him that you understand more about survival and dignity and strength than anyone at that table, including me." Ada's throat felt tight. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." He turned to face her fully. "Because I need you to understand something. When I claim someone, when I say they're mine, I mean it absolutely. No one disrespects you. No one questions your worth. No one gets to make you feel like you don't belong. Not in my presence, not ever. You would destroy someone's entire life over one comment." "Over you," he said it simply. "Yes, without hesitation, without regret." "That's insane." "I know. And terrifying." "I know that too." And Ada stopped, looked at him, really looked at him, saw the man who had just defended her without being asked, who had made it clear to a room full of powerful people that she mattered, that she was not temporary or dismissible or less than. "And it makes me feel safe," she finished quietly, "which is probably the most dangerous thing of all." Jaehyun smiled, that small, private smile that was just for her. "Probably." He kissed her then, just once, soft and brief and devastatingly gentle. His hand cupped her face. His lips brushed hers. And for one perfect moment, Ada forgot about Minjai and warnings and danger and fear and just existed in the kiss. It wasn't demanding, wasn't possessive. It was a question asked without words. "Is this okay? Are we okay? Can I have this?" And Ada answered by leaning into it, just slightly, just enough. When he pulled back, his eyes were very dark. His thumb traced her cheekbone once before his hand dropped. "I should let you go," he said. His voice was rough. "Before I change my mind about being patient." Ada's heart was racing. What happens if you change your mind? "I ask you to stay, not just tonight, always." He took a step back, put physical distance between them because the pull was too strong otherwise. "And that's not fair to ask, not yet, not when you're still figuring out if you can handle what this is." "Maybe I don't want fair." "Maybe you should." They looked at each other across the small space between them. Two people standing on opposite sides of a choice that would change everything. "Tomorrow," Jaehyun said finally, "I'll call you, we'll talk. We'll figure out what this is and what it becomes. But tonight you go home, you think. You decide if this is really what you want. And if I decide it's not, then I let you go." He said it simply, but Ada saw the cost in his eyes, the effort it took to make that promise. "I've never been good at letting go of things I want, But for you, I would try. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Because if I don't give you the choice, then I'm exactly what Min Jae said I was. And I refuse to be that for you. Ada felt something break open in her chest. Not fear, not excitement, something bigger. Something that felt dangerously close to love but couldn't be, not this fast, not this soon. Okay, she said. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. She turned to go, got 3 steps toward the door before she stopped, turned back. Jaehyun. He looked at her, waiting. Thank you for tonight, for defending me, for being honest, for, she stopped, tried to find the right words, for seeing me. His expression softened into something almost unbearably tender. Always, he said. She left then, before she could change her mind, before she could cross back to him and make a choice she wasn't ready to make. The handler led her to the elevator. The ride down was silent. A car was waiting outside, black, sleek, the kind that was so expensive it didn't need to announce itself. The driver opened the door. Ada got in. As the car pulled away from the building, she looked back, saw the tower rising into the Seoul night, saw the lit windows 40 stories up, imagined him standing there, watching her go, feeling the same pull she felt. She touched the necklace at her throat. The pendant was warm from her skin. Felt the promise it carried, the weight of it, the inevitability. And somewhere in her chest, in the space where fear and excitement and choice collided, she felt something settle. Not certainty, not quite, but something close. She had made her choice. She had walked into this with her eyes open, had listened to Min Jae's warnings and Jaehyun's truths and her own heart's terrible, reckless wanting, and she had chosen to stay. Not forever, not yet, but for now, for tomorrow, for whatever came next. And that was enough. The car moved through Seoul's nighttime streets. Neon reflected off wet pavement. People moved through their lives, couples holding hands, businessmen hurrying home, students laughing in groups. Ordinary people living ordinary lives. Ada watched them through the window and felt the distance between their world and hers. A distance that was growing wider with every choice she made, every step deeper into Jaehyun's gravity. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jisoo. Are you alive? Should I worry? Ada smiled, texted back. I'm alive, don't worry, I'll call you tomorrow. Another buzz. You're sure? I'm sure. She wasn't sure, not really. She was terrified and exhilarated and stepping off cliffs she couldn't see the bottom of. But she was also more alive than she'd been in months, maybe years, and that had to count for something. The car pulled up outside her building. The driver got out, opened her door. Ada stepped onto the familiar street, looked up at her small apartment building with its cracked facade and flickering hallway lights. This was her world, small, simple, safe. And somewhere 40 stories above the city, in a penthouse made of glass and power and beautiful danger, was the world she was choosing instead. She climbed the stairs slowly, reached her door, put the key in the lock. Hesitated. Looked down at the necklace one more time, touched it, felt the solid weight of the pendant. Then she unlocked the door, went inside, locked it behind her. The apartment was exactly as she'd left it, small, quiet, hers. But it felt different now, like a place she was visiting rather than living, like a chapter that was ending while a new one began. Ada changed out of the dress, hung it carefully, put the shoes in her tiny closet, but she left the necklace on. Lay down on her futon, stared at the ceiling. And somewhere in the quiet darkness, made peace with the fact that her life would never be the same. Tomorrow, Jaehyun would call. Tomorrow, they would talk. Tomorrow, they would take the next step into whatever this was becoming. But tonight, she let herself just feel it. The fear and the wanting and the terrible, beautiful certainty that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. If you've stayed with Ada this far, if you felt the weight of that kiss, if you understood the impossibility of her choice, if you're sitting here wondering what happens next and whether she made the right decision, then I need you to do something for me. Right now, hit that subscribe button, because episode 3 is going to break your heart and put it back together in ways you're not ready for. The danger Min Jae warned about, it's coming. The people Jaehyun was protecting Ada from, they're already watching. And the choice Ada made tonight is about to have consequences neither of them saw coming. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have stayed or would you have run? Be honest, I want to know. Because this story is about to get dangerous. And you're not going to want to miss a single second of it.